Dropping the swords, drop the sword. Wow. We're live.
No, we're not.
Everybody, we're live.
We're live. Shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High God, Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. How everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. I'm doing great. Doing wonderful. Doing wonderful. What they say in the church, I'm blessed and highly favored. Look at him. Blessed and highly favored. All right. All right. Happy Feast of Dedications to Israel, to the Swords of the Spirit, to our brothers and sisters out here that celebrate our holy day for the Most High. Giving thanks. Giving thanks, honor, and glory to the Holy Father. This is one of our high holy days, memorializing our ancestors. See, our people are going around doing Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving, someone else's holidays. We have our own things that we have to celebrate. We have our own memorializing that we have to do of our ancestors. So anybody who's watching this who's not practicing being an Israelite, if you ever wondered if you dropped Christmas, Easter, Valentine's, Halloween, and all that stuff, what do you have to fall back to? It's the high holy days of the Most High God.
That's right.
It's several new moons. Like today, it's the new moon, it's the Sabbath, and it's the Feast of Dedication. So it's a triple pleasure. So we have our own heritage that we need to be practicing. So it's easy to get back into it if you're doing those pagan holidays, because that's a problem that our people have. They want to know what they're going to be doing if I stop doing Christmas. Well, it's right here in the Bible. And this is one of the things that we do. The Christian church doesn't do any of the high holy days of the Bible, but they say they followers of Christ. But we're going to find out today, if people don't already know, that Christ did the Feast of Dedication. Christ did the Feast of Dedication. So why wouldn't we be doing the Feast of Dedication if you're a so-called follower of Christ? You know what I'm saying? The first scripture we're going to read, let's get Deuteronomy 32:7. The name of the class is The History of the Feast of Dedication. The history of the Feast of Dedication. How did we get to doing the Feast of Dedication? It's not one of the big seven that's in Leviticus, so we got to have an understanding on how did we get to doing these things. We have other feasts that we do, like the Feast of Purim and Destruction of Nicanor. That is commemorizing our ancestors. That's commemorizing our forefathers and foremothers. So we have things that we have that's our own that we do. We just have to practice it. Read that for me, y'all.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, and verse 7. Remember the days of old.
What did the Bible say?
Remember the days of old.
See, the Bible tells us to remember the days of old. How else we don't know about our history if we don't remember the days of old? Because they lead us to believe our history, which is idiotic, to think that our history starts when we came into slavery. It's clear as day we was doing things before they brought us into slavery. So our book tells us to remember the days of old. Ain't that what Esau do? He remember the days of old. He remember Pearl Harbor. He remember World War II. He remember those 9/11. So why shouldn't we remember the days of old for us? Read on.
Consider the years of many generations.
Do what?
Consider the years of many
They
generations.
say consider the years of many generations. This is how they got our people dumbed down. We don't think that we need to consider the years of many generations. They think that the Bible is just old. Oh, that's old. That's biblical. No, that's human life today. People have not changed. We still the same people we were from the time he made us. So he tells us to remember the days of old and consider the years of many generations. That means look back at our history. Look back at our ancestors. Look at the things that they went through so that we can learn from those things. Read on.
Ask thy father.
Do what?
Ask thy father.
Now we can't ask our fathers, our fleshly fathers today, because they don't know nothing. But what fathers we gonna ask? We gonna ask our ancient fathers. That's why the records is here in the book. We can go to Esdras and see the things that he asked. We can ask Esdras. He asks questions that is above our pay grade to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? We can ask Moses. We can ask Christ. And that's what a lot of people don't want to do. Christ ain't in here for nothing. His testimony not in here for nothing. It's in here so we can ask some things. Just like the young man came to him, asked him, how do you get everlasting life? That's a question that needs to be asked. It's already been asked. And it's already been answered. So when you consider the many generations, all you got to do is go back in the Bible. Read on.
And he will shew thee thy elders, and they will tell thee.
He gonna tell us everything that we need to know. It's sitting right here. So we ain't being neglected. That's why the Holy Spirit is sitting right in this Bible right here. The Comforter, our ancestors, our forefathers. Give me Psalms 143. Give me verse 5.
Come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 143, and verse 5. I remember the days of old.
We do what?
I remember the days of old.
We have to remember the days of old. Because if you don't know your past, how can you know your future? Read on.
I meditate on all thy works.
We do what?
I meditate on all thy works.
So we meditate on all God's works that he done did for Israel. Whether it was evil or whether it was good. And it all depended on us. It all depended on how we acted, on how the Most High reacted to us. Read on.
I muse on the work of thy hands. I stretch forth my hands unto thee.
What do we need to do to the Most High?
I stretch forth my hands unto thee.
We need to be stretching forth our hands unto him. This is how we do it. By remembering the days of old. Remember, considering the many generations to learn from our ancestors what not to do and what we need to do for the Most High. So that's how we stretch forth our hands unto thee. Read on.
My soul thirsteth after thee, as a thirsty land. Salah.
And we should be, our soul should be thirsting for this knowledge. These laws, statutes, and commandments, this history. We should be thirsting for that, seeing though we've been in a spiritual drought our whole life. Seeing though we didn't even know who we were. We didn't know our heritage. We didn't know our history. We sitting in the country thinking that our history started when they brought us on the slave ships. That's sad, man. Because no other people has to go through that. It's people who know their histories that stretch back thousands of years. But for us, when the conquistadors got here, that's when our stuff started. No, that's crap, man. That's what they want us to believe. But you see what the Most High God told us. Give me John 10:22. Like I said before, matter of fact, give me 2 Peter 2:21 first. It's like in 1 Peter 2:21. 1 Peter 2:21.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, and verse 21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example.
Leaving us what?
An example.
And a what?
An example that ye should follow his steps.
So Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example. Leaving us an example. So if we say we followers of Christ, he left us the example that ye should follow his steps. Let's see something Christ did that we need to follow in his steps. Give me John chapter 10 and verse 22. Because these Christians got the game messed up. They ain't following Christ. They following Satan. It's straight up and down. There's no other way of looking at it. If Christ is telling you to do X, Y, and Z, but you say, I'm following Christ, but I'm going to do A, B, and C, then you're not following this example. And I'll go into that another time. Them damn white Christian evangelicals is the problem. But that's a story for another day, because that's who our people are following. They follow the white Christian evangelicals who worship white Jesus. And our people think that these people are this type of Christian, law-abiding Christians. No, they just running their damn mouth and being Trump supporters. They don't read no scriptures. That's what our people is following. They're not following the Christ of the Bible. They following the devil. Read this out.
Come. This is the book of St. John, chapter 10 and verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem the feast of dedication.
The what?
The feast of the dedication. And it was winter.
It was what?
And it was winter.
We going into the winter time right now. It go according to the winter solstice. We going into winter here shortly. Read on.
Verse 23. And Yahushua walked in the temple.
Who did what?
And Yahushua walked in the temple. In Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him. And said unto him, How long doest thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly.
You see these wicked Negroes? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. Man, what do you want from this man? He coming walking in the law, statutes, and commandments when ain't nobody else doing it. What more do you need to see? If somebody walked in here right now and was a picture perfect, stellar example of keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, you can't deny this person as being a holy person. You know what I'm saying? You know when you're around holiness, and you don't be around it a lot. That's how you'll know when you're around it, because it ain't just readily available. So I know when Christ is on the scene and the things he abstaining from, this is how you know Christ is strong. Because he was abstaining from these things, and he was around these people that was doing these things, and he wasn't bothered by it. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know somebody's strong in the spirit. See, some people got to run away from a situation because they're not strong in the spirit. When you strong in the spirit, it don't matter what these people doing around you. You're not going for it. You're not going for it at all. You're not being tempted by none of this fleshly stuff because you about your Father's business. And that's when you get built up in the spirit. When you know you're not all the way built up in the spirit, you're like, you know what? I got to get away from this situation right here. But when you know Christ sat with the sinners and the publicans because his spirit was strong enough to do that, man. So they want to doubt Christ. Just tell us plainly. Read on now.
Come on. Verse 25. Yahushua answered them, I told you, and ye believe not.
He told them, but they don't believe. So what can you do for somebody that you telling them plainly, but they don't believe? Can't do nothing for them. Read on.
The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But ye believe not.
But they believe what?
But ye believe not.
Just like the Christians. They say they following Christ. It's right here in the book. They did the Feast of Dedication. They don't believe it, man. They still want to say Christ's birthday was on December 25th. Where is that in the Bible? But they tell you the Feast of Dedication is old, but we're looking right in the New Testament where Christ did the Feast of Dedication. But they still don't believe. Read on.
Come, verse 26, but ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. My sheep hear my voice.
What did he say?
My sheep hear my voice. And I know them. And they follow me.
And they do what?
And they follow me.
So if you a sheep, if you one of the scattered sheep, if you one of the sheep of Israel, and you hear Christ's voice, you hear what Christ did, you hear what he said, you're going to follow him. You're not going to make a rebuttal. It's not going to be a debate. It's not going to be an argument. It's not even going to be a discussion. Oh, Christ did that? Well, that's what I'm doing too. So there's no way of getting around that thing, man. So let's see why Christ did what he did. I want to start off with First Maccabees 4 and 59. We're going to start from the end, and then we're going to start off from the beginning. Read that when you got it.
Come, this is First Maccabees, chapter 4, and verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 5 and 20th day of the month Cashapp, with mirth and gladness.
With what?
With mirth and gladness.
So Judas and the congregation of Israel ordained us to do this. We can do that. We just ordained the commemoration of something that we did. It's part of our history. How else you gonna remember your history if you don't ordain us to celebrate it every year? For 8 days at that. It was a great victory for us. So let's go to the beginning. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. We're going to do a lot of reading, y'all, so just buckle your seatbelts. We're going to get this story.
It's the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
So first and foremost, this is a history book, y'all. This is a history book. Now, for somebody trying to act like this Bible ain't real, Esau gonna have to discredit his own history. Because Alexander, the Greek, was their God. That was the first Edomite to conquer the world. They commemorate him. That's what they call him, Alexander the Great. He had generals. That after he died, he had passed everything off to them. So if this Bible not real, then Alexander the Greek ain't real.
That's right.
Know what I'm saying? The Macedonians ain't real. Philip the Macedonian ain't real. Cleopatra ain't real. You know what I'm saying? You would have to annul their history to annul our history. Because if this is history from our point of view. So this is us telling our people about Alexander the Greek. Not hearing it from the side we've been hearing it from all this time, like he's so great. He's not great to us. He's great to them. Just like George Washington, great to them. He's not great to us. He's great to them. We just happen to be conquered people in Babylon that had to hear this stuff. But now we got the true understanding from our forefathers' point of view. That's why I say consider the many generations, man. Ask thy fathers and they'll tell us. Read on now.
Come, verse 2. And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, and he was gathered, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributes unto him.
See, what Alexander did, he went and conquered the dark nations. He conquered the dark nations. That's why he's famous. It ain't about conquering the white nation, the Edomite nation. He conquered the dark nations. And that's what put him on the map. Read on out.
Verse 5. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
Do anybody got the generals who he parted his kingdom to? Nobody?
Casimir?
Cassandra?
Yeah, Cassandra,
Lysimachus.
Ptolemy,
Ptolemy.
and Sylvis.
Say it again.
Sylvicus.
Celestius. Yeah, you got it written down. You got to get the pronunciation.
Yeah.
We don't care about Edomite names anymore.
We don't care about that anyway, but he parted his kingdom, you know what I'm saying, amongst his generals. This is world history that they forced us to understand. Now that we got that, we knew that, then we come to our Bible. Oh, you don't say. Oh, so y'all just confirming our book. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Read on.
Come. Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died.
Do anybody know how he died?
He was a homosexual.
Yeah. He died from a sexually transmitted disease, being a homosexual. That's why he only reigned 12 years and died. Hey.
Alexander the Freak.
Alexander the Freak. The Greek freak. That's what we call him. Read on, right?
Verse 8. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
Look at that. What happened?
And evils were multiplied in the
It
earth.
didn't say evils were added. It said evils were multiplied because you went from one leader to 5 leaders. So they spread out the evil and multiplied it on the earth because they brought they Edomite lasciviousness and lustfulness to other nations like they do today. That's why people want to say Esau ain't the white man. Well, you tell me what other nation of people got enough power to go into a country that put a law against homosexuality. They got enough power to go into that country and tell them to change that law. You show me an Arab country that got that much power. Matter of fact, Arab countries don't even promote homosexuality. That's the first thing. And then they don't go into another country and try to tell somebody to let the homosexuals be free. This is Babylon that does this. This is the European countries that's promoting this stuff right here. But Esau not the white man. They're wearing who is he? Because we reading about him right now. And it shows match up to the matter of fact, we're gonna keep reading. We're gonna see how it's match up to today. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. Read on, right?
Come, verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
So I guess we just giving years that people reign for nothing. We just giving years. Oh, here go the year that he reigned out of our book. Are we just making this up? These people is crazy, man. Read on.
Verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
Hold on, don't that sound familiar today? In these days, going out of Israel is wicked men. Read on.
Who persuaded many.
Who did what?
Who persuaded many.
You don't have to keep the laws. Now watch this. When we finish reading these few verses, then we drop down to 41, you're gonna see it clear as day. Wicked men out of Israel today is telling you you don't have to keep God's laws. And we're going to see why they saying that. Read on now.
Saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had sorrow.
But the Lord commanded us to be separate from them. But you got Israelites talking about since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. No, you're going to have sorrow for dealing with them. That's where your sorrow going to come from dealing with the people that you ain't got no business dealing with. That's why you got pastors that it be shootings happen, right? The pastor come, they do their little prayer memorial, they go to the steps of City Hall, they do whatever they do, and then what happened the next time? Another killing happened. So what did you do? What did you help, pastor? What you need to be doing is telling people to keep God's laws. That's what your duty is to do. Not to come, the pastor is worse than the police. The police always come after the crime. The pastor always come after the crime. We try to prevent the crime. That's why we proactive, Israelites go to the street corners and try to prevent the crimes from happening. Because we teaching the word of God. We teaching the law, statutes, commandments. They're not doing it because they reaping the benefits of this place. Read on.
Come, verse 12. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
They went to the king. See, the Most High ain't give no man license to sin.
Right.
So you can't go to the Most High with that crap. So where you go to? To the devil. Who give you license to sin? This wicked as hell, man. That's why I said wicked men went out of Israel. Read on.
Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
That's like right now. Place of exercise. Be your basketball gym, your football field, your baseball field. Look what they did to these men that they got in these sports. You need to take a shot. Why? You just need to. So we here today. You got people that took all these shots. You got a different variant that's out here, and people that took all the shots is getting it. So why is they condemning Kyrie?
Right.
Why they condemning him? If you done took all the shots and you still can get it, then what difference do it make if I take the shot now?
Right.
Because there's something else behind it. Because they too forceful about it. They condemn this man for not taking it. It's other people ain't took it, lied about it, and they ain't condemned them. They ain't condemned Aaron Ross. He lied, said he took it, and he ain't even take it. Got the COVID, he went to playing a couple weeks later. Kyrie, what's the problem with that? Know what I'm saying? See, that's why you can't play their games. I commend Kyrie because there wasn't enough money in the world to make him go against what he know is right. No matter how much these people want to condemn you, want to try to make you feel guilty, make you feel bad about that. That's a key thing right there. You say we got freedoms. You say we got rights. But the only two things you ain't got a right to do, and I'm not with abortion at all, but I find it mighty strange that the white man want to tell everybody what to do with their body. You want to tell me I can put a shot in my arm. You want to tell me what to do with my body, but we supposed to be free. But don't say nothing to a homosexual. That's his right. What? That's more detrimental to the society than me not taking a shot. But see, we in Babylon. You gotta always remember that. It's just like back then. Because it's too many of our people that's wicked that's going along with the stuff. Like you got your own people. I'm veering off a little bit, but Stephen A. What's his name? Stephen A. This one of them coons. This one of them wicked men out of Israel. Super coon, who rode Kyrie harder than anybody. This is his own brother. But when it came to Aaron Rodgers, it took another brother to get on him to even say something about the white boy. But you know what he see what they did? He said something and then he went right back to Kyrie. That's some of them wicked men. So he got a platform. That's why they put him in that platform. So he can come against his own people, man. That's one of them wicked men out of Israel. That they use to come against us. They use our own people to come against us. They would use a Hispanic, a Northern Kingdom to go against Northern Kingdom. That's just like at the border. It's damn near more Hispanics that be there going against the Issachars that's coming across the border, or the Northern Kingdom coming across the border, than the white man. Like, hey, you racist against your own people? Yep. Because they wicked men that came out of Israel. Yep. Finish it off. 15.
Come. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 15. And it reads, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
Did what?
And were sold to do mischief.
That's what this whole thing is about. Sold to do mischief. They give you $30 million. Take the shot. Go and do some mischief. One brother say, I'm not taking it. They act like he done committed a hate crime. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous, man. Drop down to 41.
Come, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom, and that all should be one people.
And what?
That all should be one people.
Now, don't that sound familiar? One world government, one world religion.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The World Health Organization, NATO. We're all one. But it's mighty strange that we all one. We sure ain't got a seat at the table.
Nah, bring that out. Bring that out.
Where are our representatives at? What are representatives of the straight, God-fearing Israelite man and woman at in this place? It ain't no seat for us. That's why the Most High told us to be separate and be holy. We don't need a seat with them. But we got people who will not rest until they can get a seat with Esau. Then you got a seat with Esau, or you done voted, right? This is the thing that tripped me out more than anything. Pay attention to the TV. It's more killings happening to us in cities. They got a black mayor, a black chief, or a black sheriff. You know what I'm saying? They voted for these people. They voted. You wanted to vote. You voted. Now you got a black mayor. Now you got a black chief. And this murder's even worse. Philadelphia got at an all-time high in murders. All these cities are at an all-time high in murders because they want us to be one people. Well, that's detrimental to an Israelite. That may work for everybody else, but for an Israelite, that doesn't work. Read on out because of this.
Come, verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath.
You know why that's detrimental for us? Because then we'll start doing this, and them curses is on us.
Yep, that's right.
So I don't know what the wicked man of Israel was thinking, that you think you finna go get with the heathens and the curses not gonna be on you. That's all gonna happen. You're gonna leave the laws and then you're gonna pick up the curses. Yeah. That's why they wanted us to consent to his religion. They can rule over us. It's clear as day. Read on. And look how we're gonna see how far they went. They took this thing to rule over us. Read.
Verse 44. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. Verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law.
And what?
To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And
Now, why would they want us to forget the law?
Right.
Because go to Judah 5:20, it tells you that if we sinning against our God, you ain't got to go there. If we sinning against our God, that it'll be our ruin. And they'll rule over us. That's why they wanted to force us into it. That's why they wanted to force us into swine's flesh. Force us into not circumcising our children. It's profaning the Sabbath. Because they know what the end will be. Read on.
Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
He said what?
He should die.
Now, how could I thought we was all one. I can't be all one and do God's will. You see that? We can't be all one and do God's will.
Right.
That's how you know the devil is working. To the point where we should die if we tried to do it. So that's like you don't have a choice. So people need to understand how we became Gentiles. You have people who willfully became Gentiles, and you have people who was forced into being Gentiles. The Christians don't understand that thing because they're willfully being Gentiles at this point.
That's right.
Read on.
Verse 51. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers.
He appointed what?
Overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city.
Now, who do you think those overseers were?
It's like.
Who do you think was the hopping Bob? Nice like boss. That's the overseer right there, trying to plead because hopping Bob. Uncle Ruckus, they put an Uncle Ruckus. Because you know, harder than the oppressor.
Right.
Trying to please the oppressor. They gonna go harder on their own people. This thing about at a job. The worst supervisor was the one of your own people.
Yep. That's it.
He feel like he gotta prove himself. Prove himself for what? Goodness gracious, Esau ain't bad enough. You want to be Uncle Ruckus. That's the overseers, man. Read on.
Come, verse 52. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law. And so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. It's a lot.
Security.
Come. Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Cashapp, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
Now they wouldn't be able to do this if we didn't have our own people that sold us out. You got people in the leadership going to the heathens talking about, man, we done had it bad since we stopped dealing with y'all. That's how they come in. That's how they come in, man. That's what's happening with Israel now. You got wicked men in Israel that want to have Edomites in their congregation. This is the type of stuff that's going to happen every single time, man. Now, how come with our stuff, we always got to let somebody in? Is them fake Jews letting you into their stuff?
No, on now, man. Bring that.
Bring it out.
Bring it out.
Is the Buddhists letting you into their stuff?
Ain't gonna happen.
Oh, I'm just gonna come up here. I want to do some with y'all. They gonna look at you crazy. What is you doing here? Know what I'm saying? But with us, we always gotta let everybody in. No, you see the opposite. The Lord told us to be holy and separate. You see what Antiochus said. He said, let's be one. So who you gonna listen to? The world or the Most High? So why would we let some other nation in here with us when we trying to get our stuff together? When the other nations want us to be a part of them to do wickedness. Because they don't want to be a part of us to do righteousness. And all those Israelites who got Edomites in their camp or other nations, see how long that lasts for them. Because they always want to infiltrate. Esau is a master manipulator, man. He will come in and play the role. I guess them brothers don't know Sirach 12 and 10 on down about never trusting thine enemy. It's right there in the book for us. Read on out.
Come, verse 55. And burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire.
Did what?
They burnt them with fire.
So they done went to burning books and killing us to keep us from doing the law. That should be a major lesson to us. The extent that Esau go to keep us from keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments, man. Burning books, killing us, forcing us to make our children uncircumcised. And they still doing these things today. They even more crafty today. They got pork in everything. Read on now.
Come, verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus, by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice unto the altar, unto the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God, at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks.
They did what?
They hanged the infants about their necks and reviled their their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them.
You see that? These some cruel, when they say evils multiplied in the earth, look what the extent they went to keep us from keeping the laws. They hung our babies by their neck. But this is the type of people somebody wants to come into the congregation of Israel. They raising these people to be serial killers. That's why the white boy that shot the school up, his parent got charges on them because they the one bought the gun for him. The school called them, told them this dude is writing notes about killing people and stuff like this. They trained them to be serial killers, man. They've been doing this for a long time. You think it's just gonna skip over some of them? It's a majority of them. And if it ain't that, then they want you to go into this new world order of homosexuality and trannyism. It's two sides of it, two wings to the bird. Either they want to kill you, or they want you to join them. We see them both right here. Willfully you join us, then you're gonna accept all the things of the world. If you don't, we gonna kill you. So you can't win no way dealing with the devil. Read on.
Come, verse 62. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore, they choose rather to die.
They did what?
They choose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
Because now they done brought the curses on Israel. Them wicked men that joined up with Antiochus, and them people brought this wickedness into our nation, brought the curses to our nation. This is horrible, man. But we finna get our heroes right here. Give me chapter 2, start at verse 1. Read to 9.
Come. This is the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, and verse 1. In those days arose Matthias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jorib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Jonan called Cadiz, Simon called the Thasi, Judas, who was was called Maccabees, Eleazar called Avaron, and Jonathan, who rose surname was Apphus. Verse 6. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me, wherefore I was born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of the strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels were carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy.
So the Mattathias saw all of this going on, man. They were discussing which you should be, which we are. Just even reading this, the abominations that happen in our nation from these people, man. The abomination that they did to the altar of the Lord, bringing swine's flesh and unclean beasts. They did it on purpose. You see, every time they make sure these ain't even spiritual, these ain't even religious people. They doing it on purpose to profane our stuff, man. That's how wicked they are. How you not even religious? But I'm going to sacrifice a pig on the altar of God of Israel just to profane it. It shows you the wickedness of these people.
Right.
It shows you the wickedness of these people. That I'm going to go out my way to profane the altar of the Lord, the altar of the God of Israel. But that also lets you know they know he real.
Right.
Because if you didn't think he was real, that's like us. We go into a country and we see Buddha, right? We not finna put nothing on it. We might destroy it, but we ain't finna take the time, well, let's go and put a sacrifice up here and profane it. We not even finna waste the time.
Right.
It's garbage. We just gonna pull it down. Them statues at the Catholic Church, we just gonna pull it down. Destroy it like the Lord told us to do. Because it's garbage. But you gotta go to these extents to threaten people's lives, kill people, do all these different things to keep them from doing their religion, their heritage, because you know it's real, man. All they doing, if you can read between the lines, they're confirming our God by the way that they act. Like all the way up until now, they still talk about the Ark of the Covenant. Why? You can't do nothing with it. Right. Even if you found it, you couldn't do nothing with it. You better ask the Philistines. I was trying to give it back. Y'all, hey, let's take this mug back. We don't want it. We can't do anything with this. Well, I was over here sitting in a mug trying to deal with the Ark of the Covenant, man. It's right in the scriptures. So what they gonna do if they found it? Which no man is gonna find it because it's been hidden. Right. But what would they do if they found it? While they doing Indiana Jones, like they looking for the Ark of the Covenant, man. Y'all ain't finding nothing. But that lets you know that they know it's real. These people done wrote about us, man. The same way they done wrote their books. They know they write about they wrote about the Judas Maccabees because they had to, because the Maccabees was kicking their butt. They had to give it up. The Romans is warriors. They had to give it up to Judas and them because they was kicking their butt. So they even acknowledged the Maccabees. You know what I'm saying? Read on now. Where we at?
Verse 10.
Give me jump down to 20.
Come, the book of First Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 20. Yet, while I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers, Yahweh forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left hand. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all the sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Which thing, when Matthias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to shew his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew upon the altar, and slew him upon the altar. Also, the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice. He killed at the time, and the altar he pulled down.
And he did what to the altar?
And the altar he pulled
That's
down.
what we gonna do to the altar. We just gonna pull it down. We ain't finna go do no sacrifices on it. We gonna pull it down. But Matthias wasn't playing no games, man. He wasn't playing no games. He killed the Jew that did it and the commissioner that's over here overseeing it. Man, what you talking about? Y'all gonna do what? Right in my face? Read on out.
Come on. Verse 26. Thus dwelt he zealous for the law of Yahweh, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, Salaki, the son of Salom. And Matthias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places of the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them, and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, Let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, We will not come forth, neither. We will do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, Let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us, that ye put us to death wrongfully.
That they did what?
That ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle, to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Matthias,
right there. So this show you these people don't regard the old or the young, the innocent or nothing, man. These were brothers and sisters that were just trying to do the will of the Father. And then on top of that, they didn't even want to fight them on the Sabbath. These devils still brought the battle to them on the Sabbath, man. That show you the type of people we're dealing with. And it also show you, you got that? No. 7, 5, 8. It also show you, it also show you that brothers and sisters that's doing the will of the Father, like the scriptures say, the afflictions that happen to us also happen to our brethren that's in the world, which means that you can be doing everything you're supposed to do and calamity still fall upon you just to test you. Read 1 Peter 5 and 9.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5, verse 9. Whom resist steadfast in the faith.
So they was resisting steadfast in the faith. They said, we not going to fight on the Sabbath. They was doing what they supposed to do. Read.
Knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world.
So the same way these brothers and sisters were keeping the law, they kill people all the time that don't keep the law the same exact way. Innocent people. You know what I'm saying? So it be tested. It just matter what your grace is. So you can be keeping all the laws and calamities can fall upon you. You cannot be keeping the laws and calamities fall upon you. But it's all about, is you going to stay steadfast in the faith when these calamities come upon you. That's the whole thing. Things is going to happen. But are you going to waver from the Lord when they happen to you? That's the test. They didn't waver from the Lord. But I'm more like the Maccabees. Let's see what they said. Go back to the Maccabees.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 2, and verse, I think we had
39.
39. Come. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 2, and verse 39. Now when Matthias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they declared, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them.
We gonna do what?
We will fight against them. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
So they made a proclamation, man. We ain't going out like that. They come for us on the Sabbath day, we fight. We fight. And that's just what it is. Because they've been killed all of us if we didn't fight them on the Sabbath day. So they made a decree that day that said if they come for us on the Sabbath, it's going down. And we ain't all gonna die. We gonna win this battle. Read on, huh?
Come. Verse 42. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
The rest, look at that. These coons fled because they knew they were wrong. Because once we stand up, them coons ain't gonna want to be around the valid man of the Lord. They gonna run to the heathens for security. Read on now.
Come, verse 45. Then Matthias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly.
Read.
They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles.
What did they do?
They recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles, and out of the hand of the kings.
They took their book back. They took their laws, statutes, and commandments back like we doing right now. We recovering the law out of the hands of the Gentiles, man, and out of the hands of the kings. We gonna do thus saith the Lord. Read on.
And out of the hand of kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph.
They just put judgment on them right there. That place so out of control, they just started laying down judgment. Because that's how wicked the people were. And if we was in our own land, we'd be doing the same thing. You know what? We ain't even finna play with you. We gonna go ahead and put you out your misery because you're not for the God of Israel.
Right.
You for the devil.
Right.
Read on.
Verse 49. Then when the time drew near that Matthias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction, in the wrath of indignation. Now, therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of our fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name.
Oh, right there. Did they receive great honor and an everlasting name? Look what he told them to do. He said, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. That's what we doing right now. We call it to remembrance the acts that our fathers did in their time. So we can know what we need to do when that time comes for us. We got to be valiant men of the Most High God, man. We cannot waver from this truth. We cannot waver from the faith. We got to be like the Maccabees. We got to stand steadfast for the Most High God, no matter what the adversary try to do.
That's right.
Drop down to verse 62.
Come, this is the book of First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 62. Fear not, then, the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms.
Fear not the words of a sinful man. That's why when they, man, I'm gonna clear the block on y'all. Man, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You know, we not fearing the words of a sinful man. We gonna do what the Father telling us to do. Right. We not worried about what y'all talking about. We more worried about the Father. He said his glory shall be dung and worms. Read on.
Come, verse 63. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found.
Today, you see that man that's doing all that huffing and puffing? He'll be lifted up, but the Lord said tomorrow he won't be found. Because somebody will deal with him, man.
God.
Vengeance is mine, said the Lord.
God.
Read.
Because he is returned into the dust, and his thought is come to nothing.
His thought what?
Is come to nothing.
His thought is come to nothing. Read on.
Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant, and shew yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain
You
glory.
hear that? We got to be valiant on behalf of the law. So all these people trying to act like the law is done away with. Do you see what is taken away from our people by them saying that? You trying to take away our honor and our glory. You trying to take our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You trying to take away our protection.
Right.
You trying to take away our covering. That's what they trying to do. To leave us naked in the sight of men. That's what all this is set up for. And the Maccabees wasn't going for that. And we not going for that.
That's right.
Go to chapter 3, verse 1.
Come. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, and verse 1. Then his son Judas, called Maccabees, rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel.
They fought what?
With cheerfulness the battle of Israel.
Come on.
So he yet his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant.
And put on a breastplate as a giant. It was giants back in the day, but also the other giants were valiant men, men of stature, high stature.
Right.
Men that had great fame.
Right.
Like it's giants today. They're the giants of the music world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it's talking about. And also those men fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. That's why I don't understand. We should be glad every day. These brothers went to battle for their nation cheerfully, willing to die for their people. That's what we got to get back. It ain't that you want to die, but if you're going to die, you want to die for something. You sit up here and watch 48 hours, first 48, these people are dying for nothing. Like, absolutely. I just told my wife yesterday, I don't care how many times I read our people is an astonishment. When you're looking at certain stuff and you just watching this stuff, like first 48, and it is an astonishment because every time it's a murder on there, it's for no reason. So if you're going to die, shouldn't you die for something? Shouldn't you die for your nation? Shouldn't you die for your God, for your king? That's what these men were fighting for the law. Because they know that's what makes us a nation. You take away the law, we're not a nation no more. That's what they understood. If you take away the law, that takes away our heritage. Because our heritage is the law of life.
Right.
Read on.
Come. First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 3 from the top. So he gat his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness upon him. And he made battle, protecting the host with his sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. For he pursued the wicked, and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all of the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel, so that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth. And he received unto him such as were ready to perish.
Drop down to 13.
Verse 13.
Showing you the fame of Judas Maccabee and his brother.
Come. Verse 13. Now, when Seron, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war, he said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, for who despise the king's commandment.
Now look at this. He going to fight to try to get a name.
Yeah.
Judas Maccabees and the Maccabees was fighting for their heritage. You ain't finna, that's like us. You're not finna win that fight. Especially we got the Most High on our side. Read on.
Come. Verse 14. Come. Verse 14. Oh, 15. So he made him ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to be avenged of the children of Israel. And when he came near to the going up of Beth-horon, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company, who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day?
And I don't know how many times I've heard our people say this throughout the scriptures. Always worried about the numbers. Man, they got more people than we do. Man, they got, what we gonna do? Hey, bro, do you got faith? Do you got faith in your God? What is you out here for? Matter of fact, go on back to the house, bro. Go on back to the house, baby. Read on now.
Verse 18. Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few, and with the God of heaven.
With the who?
With the God of heaven, it is all one to deliver with a great multitude or a small company.
See, that's what our people don't understand. They think we out here for a whole bunch of people. We're not. We're not out here for the whole bunch of people. Right. We out here for the elect. Right. And that's why the Most High ain't taking everybody. That's why everybody can't be saved. This is showing all through the scriptures. The Most High don't want everybody. Right. He don't want to use everybody. He don't want everybody to be in salvation. That's right. He wants the chosen ones, the elect, who he chose to be part of that. Read on.
Verse 19. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven.
Where does the strength come from?
It cometh from heaven.
Drop down to 27.
Verse 27. Now when King Antiochus...
Start at 25, select.
Verse 25. Then began the fear of Judas and his brethren, and an exceeding great dread to fall upon the nations round about them.
Salakia, I've just seen something I want. Read 21 right quick, because it's saying what I had just said.
Verse 21. But we fight for our lives and our laws.
What are you for?
We fight for our lives and our laws.
That's hard to beat right there. You coming just to get a name, we fighting for our lives and our laws. It's hard to beat right there. Now drop down to 27.
Verse 27. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation, before he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. He opened also his treasure, and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of the churches failed, that the tributes in the country were small because of the denizen and plague which he had brought upon the land, and taken away the laws which had been of old time, he feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before, for he had abound above the kings that were before him. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed In his mind, he determined to go into Persia, there to take the tribute of the countries and to gather much money. So he left Lysias, a nobleman and one of the blood royal, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates unto the border of Egypt, and to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again. Moreover, he delivered unto him the half of the horses and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done, as also concerning them that dwelt in Judah and Jerusalem, to wit, that he should send an army against them, to destroy and root out the strength of Israel and the remnant of Jerusalem.
So you can't root out the strength of Israel because it comes from heaven.
That's right.
So they don't understand that. You can't root out the strength of Israel because it comes from heaven. All we can do is nullify that strength by going against the Most High. As long as we ain't going against them, ain't nothing they can do with us. Read.
Come, and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away their memorial from that place, and that he should place strangers in all their quarters, and divide their land by lot. So the king took the half of the forces that remained and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 547th year, and having passed the river Euphrates, he went through the high countries. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorminus and Nicanor, and Gorgias, mighty men of the king's friends. And with them he sent 40,000 footmen and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Judah and to destroy it as the king commanded. So they went forth with all their power and came and pinched by Emmaus in the plain country. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them.
See, that's Psalms 83 all over.
Yeah.
They was doing it back then. They came all together to try to take us as slaves. Ain't nothing new under the sun, man.
Yep.
And they were going to take us, they were going to put us on slave ships and take us to other countries, man. And people want to talk about the Native Americans ain't going on slave ships. They went on slave ships back then, just like we did. Right. They went on slave ships here in America, like we did. Ain't nothing new under the sun, man. These people running the same damn playbook they've been running on us.
That's right.
Read on.
Verse 42. Now when Judas his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them.
They wanted to commit genocide on us because we won't comply to doing wickedness with them. Or what they don't perceive to be wickedness, but it's wickedness to us. Eating swine's flesh on the altar of God is wickedness. And they know it. Read on.
Verse 43. They said one to another, let us restore the decayed estate.
Read that again.
So like verse 43 from the top. They said one to another, let us restore the decayed estate of our people, and let us fight for our people and the sanctuary.
That's what we're doing right now. We're doing the same thing. We're trying to restore the decayed estate of our people by bringing them back to who they are, by teaching them their true nationality, teaching them to keep the laws, statutes, commandments of the Most High God, because that's what they didn't want our people to do, just like today. So somebody got to come back and teach our people to restore the decayed estate of our people.
That's right.
Read on.
Verse 44. Then was the congregation gathered together, they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion.
Drop down to 48.
Verse 48. And laid open the book of the law.
47. Select.
47. Verse 47. Then they fasted that day, and put on sackcloth, and cast ashes upon their heads, and rent their clothes, and laid upon the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their image.
It's telling us that they tried to do, they was doing this back then. This so-called Jesus Christ that they got here today ain't the first time that they done did this. Come on, this is not the first time that they done brought white Jesus to us. They was doing it back then during the Greek times. That's why it's so much confusion right now about Christ. That's why Christ is such a stumbling block. Because these people went up their way to make a stumbling block. Now you over here got to decide, do I want the Jesus that love everybody and want everybody to be one? Or do I love Yahweh who telling you to keep the laws, statutes, commandments, and I ain't come to bring peace on earth but a sword? Oh, that Christ sounds harsh. Oh my goodness. What God are you serving? Oh, you don't know our God is a God of war.
Right.
That's not Mary's baby. My Jesus wouldn't do that. We know. Because their Jesus is a homosexual.
That's right.
That loves everybody.
That's right. That's right.
And tell you to come as you are and do as thou wilt.
That's right. Come on now, bring it out.
That's their Jesus. But we deal with Yahweh Shai. The Hamashiach. The Rakadah. You know what I'm saying? That's what we dealing with.
That's it.
And he said, I ain't come to bring peace on earth. Ain't this in the New Testament?
Yes. Right.
What Jesus they worship? Because my Jesus said he ain't come to bring peace on earth, but a sword.
That's right.
He come to set a man at variance with his father, and a daughter-in-law with a mother-in-law. You know what I'm saying? He said any man who gain his life gonna lose his life. That's right. They're not saying none of that in the Christian church. They're not telling you none of that. But it's right here in the Bible. So what Jesus they serve? This one right here. This one that the heathen sought to paint the likeness of our Christ and push it in a fashion to where when they came to the northern kingdom, they gave them a choice just like here. We gonna do a class on this probably next week. Just like right here. They gave him a choice first. Here's white Jesus in the cross. You want to get down? And if they did not get down, now they hanging them at the stake 13 at a time to disrespect Christ and the disciples. Now you dashing babies against the stone. Oh, that sounds familiar. They was dashing our babies against the stone, and right here they was hanging our babies by their neck. Something fishy. They said the Native Americans were scalping people, and they was the red man. But when I go to Greek times,
come on.
with the sister and the 7 sons, they were scalping us.
Bring it out.
Bring that out.
But this the Jesus they follow. Because the people that follow that Jesus, this is what they was doing to the real Israelites. Our people ought to be ashamed of themselves, but we know they're not because we just did a class. Israel is still a shameless woman. Those wicked men out of Israel that came out at that time that brought us into the situation that we went into is still here today. That's why it's hard to get over this hurt. Did what you say the pastors had said? You seen that thing with them pastors? They was talking about the brothers leaving the church being Israelites.
Yeah, they did a conference together, and we just watched it on Sakari. They did a conference, and they had pastors come together saying that this is why brothers leaving the church, because the churches they're not. They didn't say effeminate, but they just said the men are very masculine and all this, but they don't want. They're trying to change up their agenda because they know that the Spirit of God is coming up on us. They know that the Spirit of the Most High is coming up on us, because if they didn't think that, they wouldn't change nothing in the church. You wouldn't have a reason to. You just look at us and laugh at us. But now they see the Spirit of God coming out on these men that's going to these street corners and preaching the word. And they trying to tell everybody to keep the law, statutes, and commandments in the faith of Jesus Christ. And that's what I don't understand. Because we trying to keep the law, statutes, and commandments and the faith of Christ, but yet they said in the speech, I just wanted to bring this out, Deacon. They said, but those Israelites are wrong.
Yeah.
But they're wrong.
We reading about the whole nation doing all these things to keep us from keeping the law. Now, they always say the Israelites didn't want to keep God's law. Well, we got an instance right here where we was trying to keep the law and they didn't want us to keep the law. So what about that? What about right here in America? We're trying to keep God's law, but they don't want us to keep the law.
Bring it out. Bring it out.
So what about that? They want to act like everybody willfully didn't want to keep the law. That's not true. If them wicked men out of Israel didn't go latch on to the heathen and invite them into Israel, brothers and sisters were still keeping the law.
That's right.
So that's not true in every instance that the Israelites didn't want to keep the law. It just get to a point when so many of us ain't keeping the law, it's going to take all of us. That's why in stories in the Bible, like in Judges 19-21, when the Benjamites did that to that woman, and the other nations, the other tribes came together to go against them. And first we asked them to give us them people that did that. The Benjamites said no. Then we went to battle with them. You want to know why we went to battle with them? Because they was going to bring us into the curses. And we would rather fought each other to keep the laws than to let the whole nation go into the curses, man. That's how serious it is. That's why the Maccabees was slaying people right there on the spot. You bringing the nation into curses, you bringing a great wrath upon Israel.
That's right.
So the violent men is going to fight against that. So it has to be a majority of us that's for the Lord to fight against the ones that's going against the Lord for us to get the curses off of us.
That's right.
That's why even in the congregations, everybody to a T got to be keeping these laws, man. Because if you let an element of people be in there that's not keeping them, eventually it's going to rub off on other people, and eventually the congregation going to go down.
That's right. That's right.
Because the curse is going to hit the congregation, man.
Bring it out, D. Bring it out.
But that we doing wrong. Well, if we doing wrong, what the Christian church doing right? Because it's a million Christian churches on every block. We in the Bible Belt. Wise homicides at record levels right now in all the major cities. Oh, I know why. Because this devil that they want to be, whose blessing is to live by the sword and die by the sword, is never going to stop living by the sword, no matter how many people get murdered, and meaning we're the ones that's getting murdered, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Yeah, they do their little murder, they serial killers, but they don't count that. They don't care about that. They just prove to you they don't care about that when they let Kyle Rittenhouse go for shooting 2 Edomites, 3 Edomites, and killing 2 of them, and they let them off free.
Right.
They showing you they don't care about what they do. It was another white boy who raped 4 white women who got off. They gave him 8 years probation and he pled guilty. So they let you know how they feel about this stuff. And if they can let every police officer that kills one of us free every single time, they would. They already proved that because they have been doing it. So this is the people that our people want to latch on to. And I put a picture up on Facebook and Instagram. It was a picture of the KKK with the cross burning. It was a picture of the Catholic Church with the cross. It was a picture of a pastor with the cross. And it was a picture of a rapper. Did I put a rapper?
Yeah.
A rapper with the cross. And I said, what's wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
You got the Black Christian Church. You got the Catholic Church is pedophiles.
Yep.
The KKK is racist murdering pedophiles.
Yep.
You got rappers who is abominations to the Most High. And I tried to find one with the strippers. All these people wearing the cross because they all in the same basket. That pastor who right along. How you a pastor of the Most High God and you got the same symbol as a pedophile or a racist murdering group of people?
Bring it out.
And you saying we wrong? We wrong because we want to be obedient to the Father. You fighting against being obedient to the Father.
That's right.
We living in Babylon, man. It's confusion. This thing is upside down. That's why this stuff don't make no sense at all. These people supposed to be for God. We're actually being for God.
Right.
But we wrong. Okay. No. We're being wrong.
The movie say what is it? Satan, Lucifer.
The
He's
show
the
Lucifer.
good-
Oh yeah,
he's
Lucifer the good guy. Yeah, we gotta remember that. Lucifer is the good guy. We're the bad guy. Well, the Lord said, woe to them that call evil good and good evil. We gonna rest on that. Where we at?
49.
Read that.
Come on. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, and verse 49. They brought also the priest's garments, and the first fruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days.
Drop down to 53.
Come, verse 53. How shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O God, be our help?
That's the only way. That's the only way we can stand against them. So people thinking that, oh, I'm gonna get my gun, we gonna fight Esau. Do you not know what this man blessed is? Have you not watched enough that done happened? This man don't care if the president gets shot. This man don't care if a school gets shot up. This man don't care if Las Vegas gets shot up. He don't care about whoever gets shot up. They are not giving up their guns. So, what they tell you? You finna fight somebody who training their children to be serial killers with the weapon he was blessed to have? They training their children to be serial killers. That's why the boy was 15 years old was shot the school up. His parents bought the gun.
For him.
For him.
Ran with him.
Exactly.
With him.
Ran. But you want to fight this devil. Our power rests with the Most High God.
That's right.
They can have all the guns they want to have. Because if the Most High sent a hurricane through this place, they ain't going to be able to do nothing. Right. He sent a tornado to this place, they're not going to be able to do nothing. He sent an earthquake to this place, they're not going to be able to do nothing. If he put the spirit on China to drop a bomb on this place, on Russia, what they going to do, man?
Right.
Nothing on this.
They can't even do nothing about the coronavirus.
Right.
So you think a gun is the best thing to try to fight it with? I'm looking at what the Most High doing to them every day. Oh, you better take a shot. Now you need a booster shot. Now it's a variant. Now you need another shot. Now it's another variant. Damn, how many shots you gonna take?
In the pill. Get the pill.
No, it's not a pill coming out. Make sure you take your shots. And no, we gonna Psalm 91. It's amazing how we still here. But they brought doom and destruction when it first. It's been on the news every single day. Doom and destruction. They finally stopped putting the numbers up that wasn't adding up.
Right.
They putting these numbers. Oh, them big numbers. They not adding up. It's not adding up with your life.
That's right.
And then when you coming on here talking about, well, people who fully vaccinated is getting the coronavirus, then what the hell is you pressing us for?
Come on now.
You got people who got the 2 shots and the booster who still got the coronavirus. So what is you pressing us for?
Right.
Leave us alone. But they won't. Because they in derision. They want us in derision.
Yeah.
Right.
They want to lie to us. Oh, the blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans is getting it at a higher rate than everybody. Everybody put together. It's only so many of us. We got it more than everybody. At one point, my zip code, they said the city was the highest one in the city. Well, it don't seem like it because all these people still running around here. Okay, you say so. Then you go to their site, the CDC site, and it said Edomites is the highest.
Yeah.
These people is some liars, man.
Yeah.
So why would we listen to anything that the goddamn devil got to say?
That's right.
Nothing. Read on now.
Come on. First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 54. Then sounded they with trumpets and cried with a loud voice. And after this, Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over 50s, and over tens.
See, them wicked men out of Israel, remember we read the scripture about brothers being self-willed and against government? These are those people, but they not against the white man government. See, the self-will come from Esau saying, do as thou wilt. Oh, do as thou wilt. Okay. I got free will. No matter how many times we show you, you ain't got free will. We ain't got free will. You got the ability to do the will of the Father, or you can just die in your iniquities.
Right.
That's your will. Because your will, what do your will mean? Because all these people that's really, if they want to do something, they got to go to Satan to be able to do it. Your free will only gonna take you so far with these curses on your back. So how much free will you got with curses on your back? And we know for these brothers that advance in this world that they got to give something up. If you're not willing to give something up, then it's gonna be hard for you to advance in this world. You got to give something up. If you're not willing to do that, then it's gonna be hard for you to advance because you're in a nation of people that has curses on them, and it's going to be hard for you to get anywhere with them because of the self-hate that's on our people.
That's right.
But when you do the will of the Father, you're in a whole different avenue. You're in a whole different lane, shall I say. This lane right here, the Most High in control of this lane. That's why he say, have faith. And when you're in that lane, the Most High got the will. He going to take care of you. So how much your free will, what your free will gonna do? Your free will gonna fight against Satan with no God on your side? This whole world is built for Satan, and you gonna fight against it?
Right.
No, you gonna have to give something up. Probably your vows.
Yeah.
It's good to say. It's good to say what they say.
And then have you slipping in the songs like Future, and then when Kodak Black calling you about it, you act like you don't know what you're talking about. That's the only time I like Kodak Black. That man called that man. He said, I probably shouldn't even be doing this. He called that man and asked him, say, bro, what's the lyrics you said? Future just a straight up lie. Because you done gave your vows up, bro. He done gave his vows up. God. Because what he said, and what the song saying is two different things.
Right.
He could at least made it sound somewhat like it. That man said, he just says it's a slippery slope. And you putting blind in your dreads. Read on now. Y'all crazy.
It brings Maccabees chapter 3 in verse 56. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return every man to his own house, according to the law.
So if you was dealing with those type of things, we just sending you to just go home, bro. Go home with your wife. Brother, if you scared, just go home, bro. We don't need none of that. We're finna go handle business. You working on your house? Or go finish working on your house, bro. Because then the brother say, man, I'm working on the roof, man. You just caught me up. Brother, just go ahead and go. Because if you ain't picked up your shield and your sword, when you seen everybody else picking theirs up, just go home, bro. Man, I just got married. Go to the house, bro. We're gonna handle this. Read on now.
Come, verse 57. So the camp were moved and pitched upon the south side of Emmaus. And Judas said, arm yourselves and be valiant men, and see that ye be in readiness against the morning, that ye may fight with these nations that are assembled together against us to destroy us and our sanctuary.
Look, these nations, we didn't have no allies. That's why the Lord had to give us 12 tribes, because we didn't have allies. The nations was allying against us, man, to come fight us.
Right.
That's how bad it is. They had to get together to fight us, man. Read on.
Come on. Verse 59.
Because this is the key.
For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people and our
And
sanctuary.
it's better to be on that battlefield than to be one of the brothers at the house that was working on his house or with his wife or was scared. And you see the calamities happen. Yeah, because if the calamities happen, that means we fail. But it'd be better for us to be failed on the battlefield than to be there when these people come through with this profanity. Read on.
Verse 60. Nevertheless, as the will of Yahweh is in heaven, so let him do.
So let him do. And that's what we gonna do. Go keep reading.
Come.
Almost finished.
The book of First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews, and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army which was at Emmaus, while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains, for said he, these fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas shewed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds.
Read on.
And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember now our fathers were delivered an army. Now therefore, let us, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and repair the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle. But they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle. And the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain. Howbeit, all the hidmost of them were slain with the sword. But they pursued them unto Gedaliah, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Jamina, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, be not greedy of the spoils, inasmuch there is a battle before us. And Gorgias and his hosts are here by us in the mountain. But stand ye now against our enemies, and overcome them, and after this ye may boldly take the spoils. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight, and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches. After this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endures forever.
Because his mercy, that's what we sang the song of Thanksgiving. because the Most High was with us. Man, they ain't even had a sword or shield on their mind, and we had them running from us, man. Because we violent men of the Lord. We stand upright for the Most High. These people don't even want to see us, man. Did you read 25?
Verse 25. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day.
Drop down to 30.
Verse 30. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his arm bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction.
See, what our people don't understand is the Most High is the ultimate Savior.
That's right.
But he sends saviors to his people,
right.
the vessels. He's the ultimate Savior, but he sends the vessels to save the people. Right. Some of these brothers don't understand that, man.
Right.
Read on. Jump over to 36.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 36. Then said Judas and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into the mountain and into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts, as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary, and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when, as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there did come a prophet to shew what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary, and the things that were within the temples, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Cashapp, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. Verse 55. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Cashapp, with the mirth and gladness.
With what?
With the mirth and gladness. Verse 60. At that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Salaki, Beth Shura, to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Against who?
Against Idumea.
Against who?
Against Idumea.
Who are the Idumeans?
Esau. Man.
Come on, man.
Esau.
Who was Esau? The Romans,
devil.
the Greeks, the British, the French, the Americans, the same people today that we got to put up a garrison against. The Russians, you know what I'm saying? So this is commemorating us taking our, what do you say, we taking the hood back? We took the hood back, man. Them people came in because of wicked men out of Israel. Sold out their own people and allowed these people to come in. Brothers is doing this today, man. Them people came in and took over. We had to take our stuff back, man. So we commemorating that thing. Commemorating the Maccabees for taking the hood back. But through the power of the Most High God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. All praise to the Most High God. Hallelujah. 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 So we want to end this on a law. And I tell y'all, whatever the Most High tell us to do or not to do, that's a law to me. So it might be more than 613. So whatever he tell me to do, if he tell me don't go out on when it's raining, I ain't going. You know what I'm saying? So Sirach chapter 2 and verse 10.
This is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2 and verse 10. Look at the generation of old.
What did he say?
Look at the generation of old. And see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded?
So we just looked at a generation of old. We just look at the Maccabees. They trusted in the Most High God wholeheartedly. Were they confounded? No. They took the hood back. Read on.
Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken?
Was they forsaken? Read on.
Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
He never despised anybody that called upon him, man. So we need to always remember to put the Most High God first.
Right.
Put the Most High God first. That's where our strength is at. That's where our protection is at. That's our shield and our buckler. So with that, man, we say happy Feast of Dedication, happy Sabbath, happy New Moon. All praise to the Most High God. In the name of His Holy Son, Mashiach Yahushua. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shalom.